Homage to Fundamental Teacher Buddha Shakyamuni. Homage to Wisdom Warrior Manjushri. Homage to all lineage benevolent masters. The Dharma, infinitely profound and subtle, is rarely encountered even in a million eons. Now we are able to hear, study, and follow it. May we fully realize Tathagata's true meaning. In order to liberate all sentient beings from samsara, generate supreme bodhicitta. Next, let us continue to study the words of my perfect teacher together. Regarding the preliminary practices, I have consistently and repeatedly emphasized them to everyone present. In terms of content and wording, it is not like Middle Way, Buddhist logico-epistemology, or the Prajnaparamita Sutras, and so on. It can be said that it is relatively easy to understand, but in reality, truly integrating its profound and comprehensive meaning into one's own mind is not so easy, and indeed it requires significant effort. Therefore, long-term, consistent listening, deep contemplation, and diligent practice must be thoughtfully combined and absolutely not separated. This is something I have also been continuously reflecting upon and considering deeply within myself. This time, the teaching of the preliminary practices to everyone is quite complete. I do not know whether in the future I will be able to see it through from beginning to end. If impermanence does not arise, and I am able to continue teaching everyone at the current pace, I am quite satisfied with it. I think for many of you, no matter what kind of profound Dharma you have diligently practiced before, whether it's from various esteemed schools of thought, or whether you have extensively studied the sacred sutras and comprehensive shastras of the exoteric or esoteric traditions, all of it is indeed profoundly beneficial. So, although perhaps others have not openly praised me, I personally feel that this opportunity for us to study together is very precious. I am taking this endeavor very seriously and with utmost dedication. Before every single teaching session, there is an absolutely indescribable and profound joy that fills my heart and soul, a feeling that is truly wonderful and deeply satisfying. This is truly not just something I say casually. I genuinely feel that this profound Dharma is extremely important and truly beneficial for a great many people. Anyone who has the profound karmic connection to truly hear and understand this sacred teaching should also reflect and repeatedly examine themselves. See whether this Dharma teaching is important to you or not. On the surface, anyone might be able to explain such cases and scriptural proofs. But to truly speak about this, one actually needs to have a certain level of personal experience. When it comes to teaching the preliminary practices, I myself also, to put it a bit bluntly, have a kind of arrogance of progress. What is meant by arrogance of progress? I myself also feel that teaching the preliminary practices is something I do fairly well. If you were to ask me to teach the main practices of Dzogchen or the methods of Middle Way, my own ability and practice is actually quite lacking. But as for these preliminary practices, over so many years, I have been continuously familiarizing myself with them and reflecting on them. And every single principle, for example, the impermanence of life or precious human life, is not something I've familiarized myself with for just a day or two, or even just a year or two. After many years of repeated contemplation, I have developed a certain firm conviction in my heart. Indeed, regarding each principle, such as the impermanence of life, I can say that I have a kind of genuine, authentic conviction. So when I share this level of realization with others, I feel that it is appropriate. Therefore, I sincerely hope that each and every one of you can carefully consider and truly take to heart the valuable content and important discussions presented here today. It shouldn't just remain as words. You really need to experience it for yourself. You have to feel its profound meaning and then repeatedly familiarize yourself with it. In this way, I believe that every principle discussed here is truly necessary for people of any tradition, of any kind of body and mind. For now, let's not distinguish between different traditions. For example, if someone is extremely hungry and says, "I'll only eat tsampa, not rice," for that person, there's really no need to make such a choice. Because if he doesn't eat, he'll starve to death immediately. At that moment, whether you say, "I belong to this ethnicity or that religion," and choose certain foods, it's really unnecessary. So for each of us, it's as if we are in a remote, vast desert of the human world and have truly encountered such a delicious and abundant feast of Dharma. We should willingly and joyfully accept it. That is truly the right and proper thing to do, a fundamental principle we must embrace. Therefore, during this extensive and profound teaching of the preliminary practices, which lays the essential groundwork for our spiritual journey, I sincerely hope and earnestly encourage everyone to deeply reflect upon this crucial point repeatedly, allowing its wisdom to permeate their understanding and guide their actions. What I say may not necessarily be correct. If it's not right, you can just set it aside. But in my heart, I believe that such principles are indispensable for everyone. Otherwise, even though there are now many masters giving empowerments and teachings, that is also acceptable. I do not deny that some people with sharp faculties or particularly good karmic connections can also directly attain the fruition of Samantabhadra Tathagata through such means. This is as it should be. For example, in Chan Buddhism, it has always used very simple words to express its teachings, and people have attained enlightenment through this. This is a historical fact that cannot be denied. However, for most of us, when it comes to our own capacities, the certainty established through the preliminary practices, that is to say, the understanding of the impermanence of life, is even more important among them. If you truly, regarding the principle of the impermanence of life, if you are able to develop a very deep and profound sense of conviction or a truly genuine and unwavering faith, then you will certainly not have much interest in the myriad and diverse things of the material world. Your entire life will definitely undergo a significant and transformative change. Because before, you didn't realize that everyone will die one day. At the time of death, only the true Dharma can be of benefit. If you never understood this principle, you would remain very blind. Now, knowing the truth of your own life and the reality of the impermanence of all phenomena, you will no longer be so strongly attached to all the status, fame, wealth, and so on in this life. You simply won't have such intense attachment. If you are free from attachment, then practicing the Dharma becomes much easier to succeed. Therefore, the source of renunciation, I believe, lies greatly in the contemplation of the impermanence of life. If you haven't truly understood principles like the impermanence of life, then even if you appear to be a practitioner on the surface in this world, in reality, you may have no real direction and just spend every day busy with your own life. This is a real possibility. That is why, when we listen to such teachings, everyone should have a very joyful attitude. This is very important. For some people living in big cities, even attending a single class can be spending a lot of time, money, energy, and so on. But I think it is truly necessary. Just think about how much effort we've spent on things that have no real meaning or value at all. From beginningless time, and especially in this very life, many of us are surely aware of this in our own hearts. So, for such profound and wonderful teachings, I believe it is only right that we make this effort. I hope that every time you attend a class or every time you receive the Dharma, the power of the human mind is truly inconceivable. We should first cultivate a sense of joy. If we have a joyful heart, for example, if I travel from here to Seda, which is more than 20 kilometers away, and I go with a joyful attitude, I will arrive very quickly. But if I go when I really don't want to, the whole process will feel extremely exhausting. Some people say, I'm not afraid of physical exhaustion, only of mental exhaustion. Indeed, if our hearts cannot give rise to faith in the Dharma, if the mind is unable to endure, then doing anything becomes especially exhausting. But if you have a sense of joy in your heart, even if your body is not well, or if you encounter all kinds of obstacles and difficulties during the process, you can still face them resolutely, face them with strength, or even overcome them. Therefore, we must approach the profound teachings of the Dharma with a truly joyful and open heart. This particular aspect is extremely important and holds immense significance. What we are going to discuss and delve into today is, in fact, a crucial topic that builds upon this very foundation. The same applies to people living in a family. All our ancestors, relatives, and parents from past generations have passed away one after another. Now all that remains of them are just their names. Many of our siblings and peers have also already left this world. As time passes and circumstances change, at this very moment we have no idea where they have been reborn. As mentioned earlier, whether it is spring, summer, autumn, or winter, whether in a monastery or a city, this entire situation truly changes in an instant, demonstrating its dynamic and ever-changing nature. Everyone should understand this fundamental principle of impermanence, recognizing that circumstances are constantly in flux and nothing remains static. Let's not talk about distant matters. Instead, let's observe what's around us. During this process of observation, each of us has a family. If you look back from your earliest childhood memories until this very moment now, how many cherished people in your immediate family have, regrettably, passed away? Then, meticulously tracing upward from there, from your ancestors generation after generation, through the long expanse of time, during this continuous process, many individuals have already left this world. Some people you probably don't even know about from before. Because in the past, Han regions' family genealogies recorded the names of many generations. These records existed, but nowadays many people no longer pay attention to them. So in the future, you might not even know about your grandfather's 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 grandfather. How would you know? You might not know at all what he was like, including his caste, ethnicity. These things might not be clear either. So if you really want to trace it back, you'll find that generation after generation, countless people have passed away. So the great figures of our current generation, in every single family, there have always been emperors and princesses, individuals who have truly brought much glory and honor to their respective families, as everyone universally knows. But after some time, we too will inevitably leave this world. Therefore, the cherished brothers and sisters we have now, including some dear classmates, and indeed all those precious relationships we forge, are incredibly important. The familiar neighbors, the fellow practitioners, and the cherished companions you've known since your earliest childhood days. When you observe them one by one, you'll truly find it's easy to see. Everything is impermanent. As time passes, many things no longer exist. This includes our Buddhist Institute as well. Some of the old classmates and fellow practitioners from over a decade ago often tell me, why are all the faces here new now? They can never find some of their old friends from before. Not long ago, a Khenpo said to me, in the Dharma hall, he kept trying to find someone he used to know, searching everywhere but never finding them. Of course, that's how it is. The fellow practitioners from 10 years ago, some have passed away, some have left. Some entities or phenomena may no longer exist for a variety of complex and interconnected reasons. So truly, in any given place, the profound and undeniable concept of impermanence is constantly and vividly being displayed before our very eyes, appearing and reappearing with a consistent and undeniable regularity. Yet ordinary people always encounter a certain kind of significant obstacle, and this pervasive obstacle has already profoundly clouded our collective vision. We always possess a continuous, persistent, and often unrecognized attachment that we simply cannot fully comprehend or acknowledge, let alone the subtle impermanence and moment-to-moment changes. Even the most obvious and profound impermanence that naturally occurs over the course of a full year is truly quite hard for us to fully comprehend. So, it is also exceedingly difficult to clearly and precisely know exactly where they might have been reborn. Indeed, whether it's observing our own family members, or understanding the profound impermanence of existence through the significant changes within our own family dynamics. This is indeed a very important and deeply insightful realization. I distinctly remember, in the revered biography of Milarepa, that on one particular occasion, when the great yogi Milarepa returned, he finally arrived at his ancestral village. At that time, he was deeply saddened and cried profusely by the riverside. As dusk gradually approached, he went to the very place where his family used to live. When he first arrived there, he saw that the original fields were already overgrown with wild grass and thorny bushes. The once splendid and magnificent house, which had stood for many years, had completely collapsed and turned into desolate ruins. Among these scattered ruins, many tattered clothes had already decayed completely and disintegrated. Then, in the piles of earth, Milarepa began to dig. Eventually, he found his mother's skeleton. At that moment, he was overwhelmed with grief and fainted to the ground, clutching his mother's bones. After a while, he regained consciousness. He then recalled the teachings that Master Mapa had given him, the key instructions of Mahamudra, and the truth of the impermanence of all phenomena. Then, while abiding in the state of Mahamudra, he merged his mother's consciousness, his own mind, and the wisdom of his guru into one and practiced for 7 days and 7 nights. Later, within his profound and deeply insightful meditative realization, he came to clearly know and understand that his beloved father and his cherished mother had both been completely freed from the lower suffering realms of existence and were joyfully reborn in a pure, blissful land. Consequently, he meticulously made a sacred Buddha statue from his dear mother's precious ashes and reverently offered it in front of him as a profound and heartfelt act of immense devotion and filial piety. And just now he saw the Maharatnakuta Sutra. There was a Maharatnakuta Sutra in their home, which had also become a bird's nest. He then carefully cleaned off all the impurities from the sacred scripture. He took a significant portion of his mother's bones with him and began to solemnly make vows. Because in Tibet, there is indeed such a custom. For example, if a very important person in the family passes away, if the parents or children are extremely grief-stricken, they make vows in front of the corpse. Because of your death, I will become a monk, or I will recite such and such sutras. Making vows in front of the corpse, this is a tradition that has always been preserved in Tibet. Just the day before yesterday, someone said that because someone in their family passed away, he later became a monk. Perhaps he made a vow to become a monk in front of the corpse. That's what was said. This kind of tradition is quite common. Later, the Venerable Milarepa, a revered spiritual master, took his mother's skeletal remains with him on his journey. And in the Ratnakuta Sutra, The remaining passages are about making vows. In this present lifetime, I will most certainly go to a secluded, tranquil mountain to practice and cultivate. He made a very firm and resolute vow, and then he proceeded to go deep into the mountains. So at that time, he also said that on this return home, after truly witnessing the scenes of his family ruined and loved ones lost, a genuine and unfeigned sense of renunciation arose in his heart. Moreover, seeing the people in this world, busily and meaninglessly making money and building houses, he realized all of this was just like building houses in a dream without any real significance. He truly developed a profound understanding of the impermanence of all phenomena. A deep and unwavering conviction arose within him. And from that moment on, he never squandered his precious time like ordinary individuals often do. He paid absolutely no mind to the cruel ridicule of others, nor to his own gnawing hunger and the immense hardship he faced. He made a vow to continue practicing until he achieved realization. So many of you here today, whether it's the profound loss of close friends or beloved family members around you, or being deeply deceived by someone you truly trust, or even just reflecting on the impermanence of your own words and actions in daily life, can come to deeply realize that nothing in this world is truly reliable. With this mindset, you must make a firm vow. This is very important. In the Preliminary Practices Memorandum, it often talks about making such vows. When making a vow, you must also pray to the Guru and the Three Jewels. We often say pray to the Guru and the Three Jewels, asking them to compassionately watch over us and wishing for our aspirations to succeed. When we make these vows privately and sincerely from the heart, this is extremely important. Otherwise, if we just recite the King of Aspiration prayers for excellent conduct orally, but never visualize it in our hearts, and whether we recite or meditate in a careless, perfunctory way, there is still some merit and virtue, but the power is not very strong. That is why, in the past, many practitioners from the Kadampa and Nyingma traditions, even though they spent only a short time practicing, achieved remarkable results. The reason is that the power of their minds was very strong. This is very important. So here it is said that all phenomena are impermanent. Sometimes, when many of our Dharma friends return home, after going back, perhaps the entire situation of your family has changed, and in your own heart there must be a sense of renunciation. I think everyone has experienced some change. Every family is like this. What was it like when you were a student before? Now, after you return home, all the circumstances and situations have already changed significantly. This shows that the good knowledge of impermanence appears before our eyes at any time. In this regard, perhaps those who have never practiced before seem to always be attached to theory, so it is essential to actually practice. If you truly develop this concept of impermanence in your heart, your practice will naturally succeed. You won't put much faith in some trivial matters in the outside world. Some time ago, a lay practitioner told me, studying Buddhism has both benefits and drawbacks for my life. I asked, why do you say there are benefits? He said, because I used to think my whole way of life was completely misguided. So now, I don't associate with them at all. Because I don't socialize with them, my business isn't doing well at all now. That's the downside. As for the benefits, now I don't drink, don't smoke, and don't kill living beings. My life is now very pure, simple, and modest. That's the benefit. I think what he said was truly heartfelt. Indeed, if you truly let the Dharma take root in your heart, then you definitely won't have time to be distracted by the outside world. You won't be interested in doing meaningless things. Where would the interest come from? For example, if someone is about to be executed and knows their life is so short, would they still have time or interest to go watch a play? Of course not. So when the impermanence of life truly arises in your mind, it might have a bit of an impact on your life, but even if it does, this dreamlike existence really isn't anything worth cherishing. Many people a few years ago had wealth and power, appearing as if adorned with worldly splendor, but this year only their name remains in the world. Those wealthy and powerful people, envied by everyone now, who knows if they'll still be alive at this time next year or even next month. So in this world, there are actually many wealthy and affluent people around us. All these individuals who seem to have everything perfectly complete, like worldly adornments. We often say, for example, this tycoon, let's say a wealthy person, is like the pride or adornment of a country or a region. But such people might very well have a bad year in business, or for various compelling reasons, they might unfortunately fall from their prominent position. In the past, these individuals were consistently listed among the world's wealthiest or among many other truly famous and influential figures. Now they can't even make the list at all. There are cases like this. There's a prominent magazine in the US, specifically called Forbes, and in this particular magazine, it extensively talked about many significant situations related to this year's ongoing financial crisis. Because once the significant financial crisis hit, a considerable number of the individuals who had previously accumulated substantial wealth and enjoyed a privileged status in society subsequently experienced profound and far-reaching transformations in their financial circumstances and overall way of life, leading to significant and often challenging adjustments. For example, those individuals who possess a substantial amount, specifically $1 billion, there were approximately 1,125 people in the year 2008. However, by the year 2009, the total number suddenly dropped to just 793, a significant figure. From what I saw, it said there were 793, and the number dropped all at once. So much of the wealth and prosperity in this world can disappear in an instant, just like a hailstorm. Once the financial crisis hit, it was gone. In the past, many people's businesses were doing quite well. Furthermore, a notable economics magazine, in one of its insightful reports, specifically highlighted that around the significant year of 2008, a remarkable and exclusive group of precisely 8 individuals were identified, each possessing an astonishing and substantial personal fortune amounting to 30 billion yuan, a truly considerable sum of wealth. But by 2009, there were none left. The number had already dropped. For those with 20 billion yuan, there were 26 people in 2008, but in 2009 there was only 1 left. It happened incredibly fast, just like that. What was once, oh, this person was truly wealthy, but now people like that, because of economic shifts, power, or authority, all of it is impermanent. There is nothing truly reliable. If something were reliable, it would be eternal, or at the very least, it would remain unchanged for many years. But sometimes that's absolutely not the case. So when we see these things, it's remarkably easy to observe the profound impermanence in the opulent lives of the exceedingly wealthy individuals in this world, and when they eventually pass away, they are utterly unable to truly enjoy any of their vast accumulated wealth themselves. There once existed a highly influential female tycoon in Asia, widely known by the name of Nina Wang. Perhaps many of you, my esteemed listeners, have already heard of her remarkable story. At the beginning, Nina Wang and her husband started their business together, building it from scratch, and later became extremely wealthy. But unfortunately, her beloved husband tragically passed away, a deeply sorrowful event that left her in a state of profound grief. Following his untimely death, her substantial personal fortune became a subject of considerable public interest. The reports published in the United States media and those circulated within the Hong Kong media presented quite different and often conflicting accounts regarding her financial assets and wealth. According to various financial reports, her estimated net worth was a staggering 40 billion Hong Kong dollars, which is equivalent to approximately 7 billion United States dollars. Regardless of the exact figure, her substantial assets were, in fact, 7 times greater than the considerable wealth of the reigning Queen of England, highlighting her immense financial standing. She was extremely wealthy. Later, because of her husband's death, it was said that during his lifetime her husband's assets, he had verbally told his father that he wanted to leave them to him. Afterwards, a significant conflict arose between him and Nina Wang, leading to a protracted 9-year lawsuit. This was primarily because they were legally and officially married. Later, her father-in-law unfortunately lost the case, and Nina Wang ultimately won the lengthy lawsuit. Tragically, less than a mere year and a half after winning the case, she sadly died of cancer. When she died, she left behind so much wealth, but in the end, it all turned to nothing. So sometimes when you look at it, the wealth of people in this world, the ordinary wealth we have in this world is really nothing, truly nothing. But in the end, we all have to let go of it. Last year in Jiangsu, there was a man named Bao Kunlin who was also quite wealthy. At the time of his death, he had about 800 million RMB. This was in November 2008. Some say it was suicide, others say it wasn't. In any case, he passed away and all his wealth was left behind in the world. So indeed, much of the wealth in this world is not really reliable. People work so hard to accumulate it, but whether you leave or not, all of it can disappear from your hands in a flash like lightning. Mipham Rinpoche also said in the instructions on the 2 codes, the wealth of sentient beings is like lightning, and the body is as impermanent as a bubble. The wealth of sentient beings is just like lightning in the sky. It disappears in an instant. Our body is like a water bubble, completely impermanent. Yet there are so many people in this world who simply do not realize this. The human body is as impermanent as a water bubble. This is what is taught in the Instructions for Kings. The human body is as impermanent as a water bubble, and wealth drifts like autumn clouds. The human body is just like a water bubble. Wealth is like the floating white clouds in the autumn sky. It disappears in an instant. But in this world, there are truly very few who can truly realize this truth. Most people remain attached to glory and riches. Yet the very nature of such glory and wealth is not reliable at all. In the past, Master Hanshin's song to awaken the world expressed this quite well, saying, "In spring we observe the willows as they turn green, and in autumn the chrysanthemums bloom yellow. All glory and splendor are but a midnight dream, and all wealth and rank are like the frost of September. In spring the willows are green." This too is a manifestation of impermanence. In autumn we see the chrysanthemums turn yellow. Through these two, the green of the willows and the yellow of the chrysanthemums, in this way, through the changing metaphors of spring and autumn, we can see these differences. Prosperity is like a dream in the middle of the night. It ends quickly when you wake up. And as for wealth and status, they are like the frost in September. In September, the weather is still quite warm, so it's generally hard for frost to form. Even if there is frost, it disappears in an instant. So if one truly understands this principle in the world, I think it shouldn't be very difficult. I hope many people will often reflect on the teachings of these great monks and the Buddhist scriptures, and in their hearts as well. Whether it's regarding their own bodies or external wealth and status, they should regard all of it with detachment. If you can look at these things with detachment, then spiritual practice is not very difficult. So whether one dies tomorrow or today, no one can say for sure. You may see many people in the morning, but by afternoon, some may be gone. You may see many people in the afternoon, but by the next morning, some may no longer be there. In the morning, you see many people, but by the afternoon, they're gone. In the afternoon, you see many people, but by the next morning, they're no longer there. This is what is said in the chapter on causes and conditions. Sometimes people pass away very quickly. There was a lama next door to me, probably in his 70s. He was perfectly fine yesterday, but by this morning, he had already passed away. Just now, they were reciting scriptures in the back. He has already passed away. But the way practitioners pass away is truly different. Back when Guru Rinpoche was still alive, there was someone who practiced quite well. How did he pass away? One morning, while reciting the self-liberation through seeing with naked awareness, he reached a pause. Then he remained in full Vajra posture and passed away like that. But we requested that for the time being, no one should go to see him. Because generally, for those who practice Dzogchen, after they pass away, you can't immediately move the body, recite scriptures, or have many people come to see. That's not allowed. At the very least, keep the door closed for 7 or 8 days. Many people here have received empowerments and have practiced certain Vajrayana teachings. For people like this, after they pass away, there should still be a period of time observed. Don't tell others about it. It's best not to say anything at all. But as I just mentioned to you, a revered Khenpo, a highly respected spiritual teacher, recently told me earlier today, if I were to pass away, if I die, and I am telling you this now, it is absolutely best not to open my door for a full 7 days after my passing. This is a very important instruction to follow. I told him, you shouldn't say things like that. Otherwise, after some time, people might not even know if you've actually passed away. Generally speaking, we really do need to pay more attention to this matter. So, just as it was mentioned earlier in the chapter on dependent origination, many people are still here in the morning, but by the afternoon they're gone, they've left this world. We usually don't pay attention to this kind of impermanence. Many lay people in society don't pay attention to it at all. When someone dies, they find it very strange. How could someone die? Then they just can't accept it. They immediately cry and make a scene. But for those who have contemplated impermanence, whether it's the death of a father or a mother, death is completely normal, just like how we go to sleep. In this long process of samsara, how many times have we died and been reborn? Birth and death keep turning. The cycle of life and death goes on without end. So in this regard, there really isn't anything worth being pained or saddened about. You can even observe the cattle, sheep, dogs, and other animals in your own livestock pen. How many have already died in the past, and how many are left now? Especially in Tibet, this feeling is very profound. You can observe the animals around you. How many were there before, and how many will there be in the future? In the past, when I went to school and came back after a few months, often many yaks and sheep would have died. At that time, although I hadn't yet received such profound teachings, but sometimes the concept of impermanence is quite strong. Maybe it's because of past life practice or something else. It's not necessarily that you must have a spiritual teacher. Some people, even from a young age, have a strong sense of impermanence. People like this probably have their reasons. In the end, everything turns out to be nothing other than the nature of impermanence. People who lived 100 years ago, now not a single one remains alive. Basically none, though it's not a complete negation. This refers to the majority, and with the addition of a negative term, generally speaking, nowadays, there are very, very few people who live to be 100. For the most part, there are none. All the people in Jambudvipa today, within 100 years, every single one of them will die, leaving not a single person behind. Most people in the world today will definitely die within 100 years. Longchen Rabjam also said this in Resting in the Nature of Mind. All sentient beings in the world today will inevitably die within 100 years. So now, many Dharma friends present here. In fact, the time you have left in this world is truly not very long. 100 years is an extremely short span of time. Within this period, everyone will leave this world. Therefore, among all phenomena encompassed by the inner and outer world, there is not a single thing that is truly permanent and unchanging. Thus, from the highest realms of the formless heaven to the lowest Avicii hell, whether it is the world of matter or the world of sentient beings, all phenomena, not a single thing can exist in a stable and lasting way. This can be summarized as, whatever is born will inevitably die, whatever is accumulated will be exhausted, whatever is united will separate, whatever is piled up will collapse, and whatever is high will fall. If we combine whatever is high will fall and whatever is piled up will collapse, this is what we often refer to as the four aspects of impermanence. That is, the method of contemplating impermanence from four perspectives. In fact, these four methods of contemplation are also recorded in the Buddhist scriptures. It should have been explained before in the Vinaya origin stories. In the past, in the city of Shravasti, there were some merchants. Among these merchants, there was one individual who was particularly and profoundly attached to the intricate and fascinating process of building construction. He truly loved architecture with an immense passion and was always actively engaged in such creative and elaborate activities. There was another individual who genuinely liked to gather with many cherished friends and frequently hosted numerous esteemed guests at his welcoming abode. There was also one who diligently liked to accumulate substantial wealth, and yet another who was far more deeply interested in simply enjoying the pleasures of life to the fullest extent. Later, the enlightened Buddha thoughtfully gave distinctly different and personalized teachings to each of these four unique and diverse people, guiding them on their individual paths. All gatherings will eventually disperse, and all that is exalted will inevitably fall. All meetings will ultimately end in separation, and all who are born must eventually die. After giving this teaching, the meaning is that everything that is accumulated will one day disappear. What is exalted and elevated will certainly, without a doubt, inevitably decline, and all gatherings, all assemblies of individuals will ultimately, in due course, part and scatter, dispersing into their separate ways. All sentient beings who are born will eventually die. So, to these people, the Buddha gave these four different teachings. This is also very important in our daily practice. Everyone remembers, whether in the extensive biography or in the Sutra of 100 Deeds and the Sutra of Wise and Foolish and other related scriptures, Shakyamuni Buddha, even during his time on the path, also attained such teachings through countless hardships and efforts. These kinds of teachings are extremely precious. Therefore, if we contemplate just the 4 or 5 kinds of ultimate ends, there are also very profound meanings within them. Moreover, all our discriminating thoughts about friends and enemies, pleasure and pain, virtue and vice, are also impermanent. Our relatives and those we resent are also impermanent. Someone who is truly close to us today may have a falling out with us tomorrow. Today, if we don't get along, we might even start fighting. If you have the guts, go ahead and fight. Come on. But after a couple of days, our relationship might improve and we could end up inviting each other to meals. This happens too. Someone might be a bad person in the first half of their life and a good person in the second half. Next, we'll discuss many principles related to this. So whether it's good or bad, friend or foe, much of it is truly impermanent. Sometimes I even think to myself, for example, when some Dharma friends don't listen, I lose my temper with them. When I get angry, I think to myself, today I'm angry at him. But maybe in a couple of days our relationship will become the best. Sometimes I have a good impression of certain Dharma friends. This might be the best, but I always remind myself in my heart, oh, maybe in a few days he might end up disappointing me the most, so I can't trust him too much. I often have these concerns with myself. Sometimes, whether it's people's mindset or behavior, especially when there are many people, it's all impermanent. So in this world, there is no law or phenomenon that is permanent and unchanging. Let me briefly explain below. No matter who it is, even if he No matter how high one stands like the sky, how fierce like thunder, how wealthy like a dragon king, how beautiful like a celestial maiden, or how dazzling like a rainbow, when death suddenly arrives, he has not a moment of freedom. He can only leave this world completely naked and utterly empty-handed, just as he arrived. He can only, while feeling deeply attached to his wealth, food, loved ones, followers, disciples, and servants, let go of everything he possesses and leave it all behind with great reluctance. Just like a single hair being pulled out from butter, he departs alone. Here it says, no matter who it is, even those whom the world greatly envies, those with extremely high status. Now, national leaders, including esteemed presidents, revered heads of state, and the distinguished leaders of various influential religious sects, these exceptionally prominent individuals should undoubtedly be considered among the very highest, most elite, and profoundly influential leaders present in the entire world today, holding positions of immense global significance and widespread respect. They are like the Secretary General of the United Nations in the country, or figures such as the President of the United States, the Chairman of China, and so on. They are supposed to be above all others, extremely noble, but in the end, whether we carefully examine history or peruse many insightful books, ultimately everything is inherently impermanent. There was a book that talked about all the past presidents of the United States. For example, Ronald Reagan, who eventually became a prominent and influential former president of the United States. And also the very first American president, Washington. He eventually ended up farming in a very quiet and peaceful place, and so on. Many books mention this. Sigh, it truly is impermanence. If you compare what they did at the beginning to their actions at the end, it's really unimaginable beyond belief. But these people too are subject to impermanence. Some were as fierce as thunder, very powerful and formidable. You could say the whole world was under their control. Just like Hitler, who started World War II, according to some historical accounts. I have a book about Hitler at home, and sometimes I read it. But reading it doesn't mean I want to start another world war. However, I do observe the actions of some of these major historical figures. At that time, he tragically killed approximately 6 million innocent Jewish people. He also killed countless people of other races and ethnicities. But in the end, he too became impermanent. Looking at some of those photos really makes you feel the impermanence of life. There are also significant figures in the world like the formidable Genghis Khan and the powerful Qin Shi Huang. If you carefully look at the early history of their respective reigns, it was truly remarkable and profoundly impactful. Take Qin Shi Huang, for example. He systematically wiped out all the neighboring states, with Qi as the primary one. Then he meticulously began to establish his own unified country. He declared, "From now on, all previous dynasties have ended. From this moment, I shall be called emperor, the first emperor of China. From now on, all future generations will be ruled by my family." But unexpectedly, it all ended with the second generation. So there are many phenomena of impermanence. In fact, history should be considered the best teaching on impermanence. But nowadays in schools, history is taught in such a dry and flavorless way. Some teachers themselves just recite, "Oh, these were the people in this dynasty." It seems like they don't feel any sense of impermanence in their hearts at all. The other day I went to a school and happened to sit in on a class. They were teaching history. When it comes to teaching history, whether it's about each dynasty or certain kings, I always have a sense of impermanence. There are many different feelings and emotions in my heart, but it truly seems that because the teacher's way of teaching is quite different, quote, and because the methods and directions of teaching in regular schools are different, it is possible that the students do not really have this kind of feeling or understanding. Also, there were people as wealthy as dragon kings. In the past, there were many extremely wealthy people in the world. Even now, people talk about Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. And although people consider them to be the world's richest individuals, in the end, everything in this transient existence is still profoundly impermanent. There's absolutely nothing that is truly reliable or enduring. And then there are those individuals who are extraordinarily beautiful, like ethereal fairies or celestial beings, possessing an otherworldly grace and charm. But in the end, these people too, whether it's beauties renowned for their looks, like those described as so beautiful they outshine the moon and make flowers blush or cause fish to sink and birds to fall from the sky, all these people in the world are impermanent. There is nothing truly dependable. On the surface, they seem to be highly admired by many people, but in the end, no matter what tools you ultimately choose to utilize, you absolutely cannot effectively remove the visible wrinkles from your aging face. No matter how much cosmetic surgery you undergo or what procedures you try, it's impossible. It should be just as some of us Tibetans say, "Look at me now, I have so many wrinkles and so much white hair," facing it with joy. Maybe that's a bit better. There's absolutely no real need to be especially upset or truly distressed about the natural process of getting older. When other people say to you, "You're getting quite old now," there's absolutely no need whatsoever to get angry or to completely lose your temper. In the very end, no matter what circumstances may arise, when death inevitably and suddenly arrives, it is a profound moment. You could say we are stripped bare. Being stripped bare is a metaphor. It means letting go of everything. All we can rely on is our soul, which follows our karma into the next life. At that time, whether it's wealth or all your family and loved ones, none of it can be taken with you. You leave everything behind, coming and going alone with deep reluctance. The Infinite Life Sutra also says, people caught in desire are born alone, die alone, come and go alone. There is absolutely nothing. This is precisely how we came into this world as well. And when we eventually die, in the very end, we depart in precisely the same manner and way. Because we do not realize that at the time of death we must let go of everything. This is also what Shantideva taught in the past. Right now we simply do not realize that at the time of death everything must be abandoned. But those who have received Mahayana teachings should first be prepared for this. When life ends, all the pain and suffering is borne by oneself alone. At the moment of death, the agony of life ending and all those sensations can only be experienced by oneself. No matter how many friends and relatives surround you at that time, you still cannot share even a little bit of that suffering with them. If it were truly possible to share, then some truly great leaders or very famous people throughout history, he may wish to share his suffering with his loved ones, but it is simply impossible, truly impossible. It's like pulling a hair out of butter, not a trace will stick to it. So the metaphor used by Patrul Rinpoche is very vivid. If you genuinely do not believe it, you can simply go ahead and purchase a small piece of butter for yourself and then pull a hair out of it. Not a bit will be left on the hair. In the same way, when a person dies, out of all the people in the world, he leaves alone, all by himself. The only thing others can do is recite scriptures for him, which truly does help. This is something real and tangible. Aside from that, any wealth, status, reputation, or worldly glory and riches, all must be left behind. They are of no use to him at all. Even a master of thousands of monks cannot take a single disciple with him. Even a leader of tens of thousands of tribes cannot take a single servant or attendant along. Even the owner of all the wealth in Jambudvipa cannot take so much as a needle or a thread. Even the body that one cherishes most and protects with utmost care must ultimately be abandoned. In the end, it truly is so. For example, even great masters and eminent monks must eventually leave behind all their disciples and followers, as this is the natural course of existence. Take our Guru Rinpoche, for instance. Whether he traveled to India, to America, or to nearby Shinlong or Mount Wutai, he was always accompanied by many followers. When the master went to Mount Wutai, there were over 10,000 Tibetans, both monastics and lay people, with him. In the Guru Rinpoche's Songs of Realization, it is also written that there were 10,000 people. Then, when I first came to the academy and went to Shillong with the master, there were more than 60 eminent monks and great masters accompanying us at that time. Later, when we were about to go to Mount Wutai, it should have been in 1986 when we went to Daofu. We visited about 73 monasteries, and at that time, 25 Dharma teachers accompanied us. Later, whether it was India, America, or many other places, the master always brought a certain number of attendants. But later, when he manifested parinirvana, all of us, his devoted followers, were indeed left behind in this vast and often bewildering world. It truly appeared as if he departed entirely alone, leaving us to navigate the complexities of existence without his guiding presence. Some time ago, Penor Choje of the Nyingma school also passed away. Originally Penor Choje, no matter whether in India or elsewhere, the monks of the Palaeol lineage in Tibet alone number in the hundreds of monasteries, so it can be said that he had a great many followers. But when he manifested nirvana, he also left alone. In the same way, this is also true for worldly people. When heads of state or presidents pass away, not a single person can accompany them. So we really need to face death from the depths of our hearts. Only the Dharma can truly help us. Nothing else is of any use. In the past, Guru Rinpoche often quoted a scriptural proof from the King of Teaching Sutra. When a king approaches the inevitable moment of death, neither his earthly possessions nor his most cherished loved ones can accompany him on that final journey. Indeed, wherever a person goes in this life, their accumulated karma follows closely, much like an ever-present shadow. Therefore, I sincerely hope every Dharma friend will diligently memorize this profound and essential teaching well. You should know that although this is a teaching the Buddha gave to a king, in reality, it truly applies to each and every one of us. When you approach death, all the wealth you possess, your loved ones, and all the worldly joys you have, none of them will follow you. So what is it that accompanies your soul? It is the good or bad karma you have created during your lifetime. If you create good karma, you will experience happiness life after life. There is always a result for every cause. That's how it is. If you create bad karma, from then on you will experience the negative consequences in different worlds. This is also mentioned in the 1,000-character classic. Doing good deeds consistently brings forth abundant blessings and profound happiness into one's life. Conversely, engaging in evil actions inevitably leads to significant misfortune and deep suffering. I recall a particular instance when a teacher once dismissively stated, "This is merely a feudal traditional saying, nothing more." I remember feeling intensely angry at that moment. What exactly do you mean by just a saying? It's clear that you truly don't understand anything at all about the profound implications of such principles. She was there, making unnecessary explanations, clearly not understanding anything herself, which was quite frustrating. Where exactly was I in all of this? I was so angry with her lack of comprehension that I even stopped the class. It makes one think about some people who, throughout their lives, wear fine silk and luxurious satin, drink exquisite tea and delightful wine, hold high and influential positions, and are as beautiful and ethereal as celestial beings. But after death, their bodies are nothing more than corpses. They are left lying around slumped and askew, making people feel afraid just to look at them. Some individuals are exceedingly happy and content throughout their entire lives. They are adorned in the finest, most luxurious silks and satins, meticulously crafted and exquisitely soft to the touch, and they regularly feast upon an abundance of rare and delectable delicacies sourced from both the bountiful land and the vast, mysterious sea. They leisurely sip on aged aromatic pu'er tea, savoring its rich, complex flavors, and they hold remarkably high and influential positions within society, appearing as radiantly beautiful and graceful as celestial beings descending from the heavens. But when they eventually die, they tragically become just a lifeless corpse. They lie there, utterly slumped and awkwardly askew, inevitably making people feel profoundly uneasy and deeply disturbed just to gaze upon them. In the past, many people asked why Leslie Chung looked so bad after he died. Many journalists talked about it too. But in fact, after death, no one looks good. When Teresa Teng, the beloved and iconic singer, died in Thailand, specifically in Chiang Mai, her appearance, like anyone else's after passing, was not as radiant as her living image. I also heard that quite a few journalists started taking photographs after a couple of days had passed, and I truly enjoyed the process. They asked why her corpse looked unpleasant, but actually, there's nothing to say about it. After a person dies, no one looks particularly good. In the extensive commentary on the profound 400 verses, there are also many compelling analogies that say, even the king's most beloved and cherished concubine, but later, when her physical body is exhumed from its resting place, he will do everything possible to get rid of it. So in our world, once you truly understand the intricate structure and overall condition of any human body, you can then begin to comprehend its full potential. It becomes quite easy to truly see the profound difference between the living and the dead. For example, Milarepa indeed also articulated this very sentiment. The corpse that people fear to see was once a living body. He said, when you see something that frightens you, that's a corpse, don't go near it. The corpse that people are so afraid of is actually the body each of us has right now. Right now, it's just that we have a certain breath of life. Other than that, there's really no difference from a corpse. You could even say that there are so many corpses in our Dharma hall. When everyone gathers together, they're all corpses. Many people say, there's a corpse here, don't go near it. When some Dharma friends pass away, some people keep watch over the body. At night, people are especially afraid, wondering if it might stand up. There's a bit of fear. But actually, there's nothing to be afraid of. Even if it stands up, it's still the same body as before. If you were not at all afraid when it was standing upright before you, then now that it is merely lying down for a little while, there is truly nothing whatsoever to be afraid of. After a person tragically dies, their lifeless body is typically bound with strong ropes. In Tibet, there are many different ways of binding the body. According to liturgies, traditions, and some terma liturgies, there are a lot of specific requirements. The entire body is carefully covered with a protective cloth canopy and then firmly propped up with a combination of earth and various stones, ensuring its stability and preservation. The bowl the person used in life is placed upside down by their pillow. That's why many geshes of the Kadampa tradition, when they go to sleep at night, believe they might die, and that's also the reason for turning the bowl upside down. This is the Tibetan tradition. After a person dies, their bowl is usually turned upside down. So when people are alive, many try not to turn their bowls upside down. Otherwise, parents may be unhappy. They're a bit afraid of it. They see it as inauspicious. There are such beliefs. No matter how dignified and lovable a person was in life, at that moment it becomes utterly tragic and even revolting. Previously, when alive in this world, they lay on layered, comfortable beds, wearing incredibly warm lambskin or other very fine and luxurious clothes, and their comfortable pillows were meticulously made of soft, plush fur and so on, providing them with utmost comfort. Even when waking up from sleep and feeling a bit uncomfortable, the body would constantly toss and turn, rolling over and over again. You'd inevitably think to yourself, there's a tiny, irritating barley grain or a single bothersome rice grain on my bed. It felt so incredibly uncomfortable that you'd immediately start rolling around restlessly on the mattress, trying to find a more comfortable position. Even the slightest discomfort. But after a person dies, according to Han region's tradition, the coffin is so hard at that time, yet there's no sensation at all, as if sleeping especially comfortably. But after death, they say, once you arrive at the funeral home, there's a special need for makeup, and the makeup fee costs a lot of money. Some people never wore makeup while they were alive, but after they die, people start putting makeup on them, and the family specifically buys these things for them. So nowadays, there are so many ways to make money, but all of this is meaningless. I think the money spent on makeup would be better used to offer a lamp for them, or maybe make some prayer flags or carve an Avalokiteshvara mantra. Generally, in our Tibetan region, after someone passes away, wherever the ashes or the body are placed, there are always some prayer flags or carved Avalokiteshvara mantras. This way, the soul will never feel afraid. With the blessings of the three jewels, they are always protected and cared for. This is extremely important. So in the future, if any of your relatives or friends pass away, scatter some of the ashes at a charnel ground that has been blessed by gurus, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and then place some prayer flags for them in different locations. For the deceased, these practices are very necessary. Even if you are unable to obtain their ashes, you can simply start by reciting their name, and then put up prayer flags or carve some Avalokiteshvara mantras. Doing this brings tremendous benefit to them. This is specifically recorded in terma texts and some scriptures. After death, all that can be placed under the body is a stone or some straw. The head is also covered in dust, because after a person dies, even if they loved to dress up and always had shiny hair when they were alive, after death the situation will certainly not be like that. What exactly can be done in such a profound and ultimate circumstance? There is truly no conceivable end to what could possibly be said or discussed regarding this matter. Some dedicated lay practitioners who are outside of the monastic setting have candidly told me, "Oh, we genuinely get so incredibly tired and weary listening to the extensive and profound teachings day in and day out. We just hope it ends soon. But it seems like you still aren't finished talking. Why say so much? It would be better to end class a bit earlier. We just hope it ends soon. Please bless us. Please bless us. May the Guru and the three jewels grant their blessings so class ends right away." So it looks like I might not be able to finish today. Forget it, there was actually another section left. Never mind, let's stop here for today.
Om